Lockheed is the latest Series 5 card in Marvel Snap, and while his stats look great on Untapped, he's popping up in very legitimate decks, and the early numbers aren't bad, but the big question here is whether he's actually putting in the work or if he's just sitting in the passenger seat while other cards do the heavy lifting. Let's dive into the full review so you can find out whether Lockheed is worth your 6,000 tokens. Hey, what's up everybody? Kicker of Elves here. Hope y'all are having a fantastic day wherever you're at. Today we've got a review of Lockheed. Lockheed is the latest Series 5 card released in Marvel Snap. It is a 2-cost, 1-power card with the text end of turn. If you played a 1-cost card this turn, afflict an enemy card here with -2 power. Now, I'm just going to say this outright. I don't think this card is very good. Kind of bummed about that, if I'm being honest, just because I was excited for this card. I love doing Merlin Werewolf stuff, Kitty Pryde. I've got a really cool variant of Kitty Pryde I paid a bunch of her back in the day. And after trying Lockheed in a bunch of different decks, I don't think this is it right now. This feels like if you want the short, too long, didn't watch, or you're just rushing, you want to get a quick review, this is like a 2.5 out of 5 star card. Now, if you look at the stats on Untapped, the win rate's actually pretty high on Lockheed. He's like a 56.7 win rate post-Infinite this season. Granted, it's only been a couple of days, not a ton of data there, but the stats look good. But I believe, and this may come off as a hot take, I believe Lockheed, the decks he's going into, especially some of the ones that are playing with another dragon that was released this week, are just inherently very good decks. Lockheed feels like not really a win more card. Like if you get Lockheed in a snap pack, you don't have to be like, oh God, what am I going to do with this? Like you can do Kitty Pryde stuff. You can do Merlin Werewolf stuff. Like he's a fine card. If you proc him every turn, starting at turn 2 or whatever, he can get to be like a 2-7, 2-9. That's pretty good stats, but and your opponent needs to have played there. You need to be playing a 1-cost every turn. The conditions aren't that hard, but it just felt like in the decks where I was, I've just finished my weekend missions to, win 4 games with him. It felt like in the best decks where Lockheed was like going in, I wanted to be doing other stuff. Like it was like, okay, if I have nothing else to do on turn 2, if I don't have my Merlin, don't have my Surge, I don't have 2 1-costs I don't want to be playing to start proccing Shu Lao buffs, I can get Lockheed down. He just feels a little slow. Maybe at like a 2-3, this becomes a lot more reasonable, but at a 2-1, it is a tempo loss, and then it's just slowing down your game plan. So you're not getting Merlin down on 2 to get him out, or maybe you play him out on 3 with Merlin and another 1-cost. That's fine, but I'd rather just be doing other stuff. I don't think Lockheed is a must-have. I'd honestly love to live in the world where Lockheed was, the card of the month, and like maybe he was a lot stronger, and his text was like, if you played a 1-cost character here this turn, so it wasn't tied into the Merlin Werewolf stuff, which is already was doing fantastic last season and is doing even better with the release of Shu Lao. If I wasn't a creator who wants to stay collection complete to give, you, the viewers watching, informed takes on this stuff, this would probably be a card that I'd end up skipping, which is a bummer because it's a pretty hype looking card. So all in all, Lockheed, I think this is safe to skip. I am surprised. When I did the preview video for this, looking at the data mines, I was pretty excited for this card, but a lot of the decks Lockheed is going into, he's kind of just there, and other cards are doing significantly better than him. So with that, let's take a look at a few decks. If you already picked up Lockheed, I don't want to be doom and gloom. This is not an unplayable card. This is definitely better than like Dragon of the Moon, better than Phantom X. It's still pretty good, but I'm coming at this from the perspective of like, if you're not already collection complete and your plan is I just stay collection complete to stay collection complete, if you are trying to use your resources in the best possible way, and you're paying 6,000 tokens for a Series 5 cards because you're not, maxed out and can just get them on a discount in the seasonal packs, this is not a card you need to pick up unless you've got like a zillion tokens and you're already in love with Merlin Werewolf Kitty Pryde stuff. So let's take a look at a few decks if you've already picked up Lockheed so you can try to get those weekend missions going. I think right here, this is the best deck that I've used with Lockheed, and this sort of builds up the example of like, you can probably tell just by looking at this is not a Lockheed deck. Anytime I tried to really lean into Lockheed as more than just a supporting player, like obviously, like I'm not an idiot here. He's not going to be a Merlin equivalent. He's not a Shu Lao equivalent. He's not a build around card. But if I tried to just increase, if he went from like, extra to like supporting actor for doing like a TV show, like he's not the main character. Shou-Lao and Merlin, those are the main characters. That's your big top villain. That's your Christian Bale and Batman. But Lockheed just felt like an extra. If I wanted to make him a supporting player, the deck didn't feel great. This deck's so incredible, not because of Lockheed, but because you're doing Shou-Lao Scarlet Spider stuff. You've got Merlin here that fuels the Lockheed. And without dunking on Lockheed too much, I don't think this is a terrible card. 5 out of 10, there's 50% of cards that are worse than Lockheed. That's a lot of cards. The main game plan here is you want to get a big Maverick or a big Scarlet Spider. Use Shou-Lao to pass on a buff to Maverick to then go into Scarlet Spider, and then you can get two 17 power dudes in the final turn of the game. You can, pass a Maverick buff onto Lasher, turn him into, even just at base, Maverick into Lasher, that he's playing for like a 210 practically. It's good stats. You've got your Kitty Pryde, you've got your Hood, you got a bunch of one cops. There aren't cops here. One costs to just trigger your Shou-Lao buff. So when you play him out on, either on turn 5 or turn 6, you are getting that. You want to be playing more than one card per turn as much as possible with this. Surge can help out with your curve. Agony you want to save. You don't want to just put your Lockheed onto Agony, for example. You want your Maverick to go on Agony, your Scarlet Spider to go on Agony, Lasher just kind of your third priority, and then Kitty Pryde if nothing else. This deck felt extremely strong, but Lockheed is not the core part of it. You're probably better off going in a direction where you're getting like Jocasta and maybe another activate like Herbie in here. So you're leaning more into the Scarlet Spider Shou-Lao combo because that is just that strong. A couple other decks I tried out. Did the Nick Scratch thing. I'm a Nick Scratch believer. The deck that Not My Dance cooked up is pretty spicy, and I was a big fan of the end of last season. Tried doing that again. The spells with Joaquin Torres stuff felt good, but like Lockheed just wasn't putting out enough. Oftentimes Nick Scratch, who a lot of folks don't, but like I'm in the minority as a Nick Scratch believer. Lockheed often felt weaker than Nick Scratch in this list. He can only proc once per turn. Scratch gets points every time you play a spell. Lockheed does his little end of turn puff, and yeah, it's pretty decent. It can also be a deterrent. Like I wonder if there's something to do with like, especially if you're further away from being collection complete. This could be something where you're playing like Nebula and then Lockheed. That could be a little like, hey, are you gonna play into here so I'm gonna poof you, or are you gonna let my Nebula get bigger? Just something to think about. Probably not S tier meta competitive, but then again, I don't feel Lockheed is as a whole here either. Couple others. This I got from Bot in the Pixel Alliance. Pixel Alliance represent best alliance in the game. This is doing like Viv Vision Clea stuff with Joaquin Torres. If you play Lockheed down, especially if an opponent doesn't have cards there, they're going to be deterred away from playing there. That was probably my little favorite dynamic with Lockheed, was the like, oh, if I'm playing this in a location where you don't have cards, you're going to avoid it. So Lockheed into Viv Vision while you have Clea in hand, and then going on to turn 4 where you're playing down Joaquin Torres, Flames of Faultine, that's going to proc, Flames of Faultine being afflict an enemy card here with -3 power. You're going to play a Flames of Faultine that procs twice, so it's -6, and then like a Hunger Majestic Wingbeat. It's pretty cool. Felt a little bit clunky for me. Maybe I just need to, this is probably a deck you need to spend more time piloting, but felt like it's all right. We got zombie stuff, we got spell stuff, we got Vivid. Like there's a lot going on here for it to merge into a totally cohesive game plan. But if you've got these cards, definitely something to consider. One more. I mean, this is just another like spin on it. This is a more just straight up version where it's leaning more into the zombie stuff. It's not doing Clea things, not doing Nick Scratch stuff. We're saying this is a zombie list. We are going to be playing a lot of one cost to help proc zombie Scarlet Witch. You can honestly Lockheed into zombie Scarlet Witch, because the zombie Scarlet Witch location is always a concern for like, is it going to have enough power? Lockheed pew-pewing every time you're playing a one cost, whether that be Kitty, one of your spells, one of the things from Merlin, Kate Bishop stuff, is going to help buff up that lane. And then with the advent of Shou-Lao, Absorbing Man comes back into these decks in a bigger way. Before, like in the video I did end of last season on the Nick Scratch Merlin Werewolf stuff, Absorbing Man got cut from this list for Shadow King. Still might be nicer to like get rid of like a Red Guardian for a Shadow King, but for the point of discussion here, because Absorbing Man didn't have, like, the only good target for Absorbing Man was Zombie Giant Man. Now that we've got Shilao, who's already like a backup Zombie Giant Man, that's two phenomenal endgame targets for Absorbing Man, especially if you're playing him out on turn 6. And then you compare that with like a Merlin spell and a Kitty Pryde. Felt pretty cool. Just again, Lockheed, not essential piece of it. So if you've got Lockheed, if you're trying to do your weekend missions, this list called Buff Lockheed, which I didn't mean to do at the time, where it's like, oh, this is a buff deck with Lockheed in it. But then I realized that they probably need to buff Lockheed, or I would like them to, because the card's pretty cool. But yeah, that's my take. 2 out of 5 stars. Probably not a card you need to pick up. Don't believe the stats. Data's lying to you. Being maybe extreme, but that is my experience after playing a good amount of this card post Infinite and in Conquest. So if you want more hard-hitting card reviews, deck guides to help you advance your climb, meta reports on a weekly basis, you're already in the right place in the Kicker of Elves channel. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment. It helps out so much. We are getting closer and closer to our 1,000 sub goal, and joining the Marvel Snap Creator Program, been a dream of mine for about 3 years. So thanks so much for the support. I'm Kicker of Elves. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.